Hello, this will be all about the map, the looting and some of the other things. Now, unlike other games, exploring the map in this game is super important. Beyond finding the cities and the various trading posts and other things, you'll find a lot of other cool stuff as well, but let's start with the beginning. Now, the first thing you need to discover is of course the trading posts because you can actually teleport to them and this is how you start your farming. You just teleport to the location and that's about it. So you need to find all of the cities. And there's an interactive map that I'll post a link to in the description of the video. Now, again, it's one of those things where you really need it, but I don't know, maybe they'll have a better map by the time you see the video or something like that, because it's definitely lacking a lot of other information. Now, what else do you need to know about the map besides that? Well, if you uncover all of the dredging locations like I did over here, as you can see some of them have a different color, right? This means the dredge location is filled with items that can be looted. Sadly, it doesn't show how many items, because if a dredge location is left alone, I think it can go up to 6 looting times. I mean, you can loot it 6 times. So yeah, that's also going to be a very important thing to do. So as you can see, that's a lot of dredge spots you can actually go and loot. So what I like to do is simply, by the way, you can use this to delete anything that is on the map mark. I like to plan my route. So for example, I want to teleport, let's say, to trader 11 and then do something like this. Yeah, it looks weird, but this is how I usually plan my routes, especially when I'm doing dredging and some other stuff, and that's how you're supposed to play as well. Also keep in mind that the dredge locations are not randomized, so the map is actually split up. You have this part of the map over here, which is chemical waste. You have this part over here, which is only ammo, and ammo is used to make explosives. And then you have this part over here of the map, the north side only, that only has parts, the metal part. So the northern part is the most useless one to dredge. This one is semi-useful, the left side, but the right side is the one you want to do a lot of dredging because you can get the chemical waste, which, as you can see, is amazing. So that's why there are not as many spots on this part of the map, on the right side of the map, compared to the left one, which barely anyone. I mean, look at this. All of these spots are filled with stuff. Nobody really goes and loot them. The northern ones probably are looted by people who are questing and doing some other stuff, so that's why it's like this. Also, keep in mind that the small dredging spots can have super good loot. They can have super useful items, and that's why they're not filled up with stuff most of the time. So if you see the small ones with loot, go and check them out, like this one. Or actually, can I find one? Yeah, if you see one like this, go and check it out. It's actually very close to 3 wells. I should probably do my own looting run like this. Amazing. The developers thought of everything. So what else do you need to look out on the map for? Well, you can look out for the rocks. Now, related to the rocks, you see all of them on the map, and it's actually accurate, but it needs a little more explanation. Some of the rocks will not activate unless you go very close to them, so I recommend you ram the rocks. And you also probably want to stay until it's declared, till it says it's marked on the quest for blah blah blah. And also, the rocks are very important because the rocks themselves have a barrel. They can have a mysterious barrel which can have a lot of types of loot, but more importantly, sometimes it will contain a lot of medallions. So as you can see, I have marked the locations of some of the rocks over here. Not all of the rocks will have a barrel, and sometimes the rocks themselves will have a very special loot in the middle of them. I don't know if it's random or not, but yeah, just know that sometimes they can have very good loot, very rare loot, but that might not happen often. But it might be related to some quest or some other events. But generally, most of the rocks will have barrels. So you can just do it like this. I mean, you mark them on your map and then you just proceed to plan your route. Like this. And as you can see, that's the whole point. You can do, for example, a dredging run, which will go over here, and then you can go for the rocks. And so on. That's why you need, I think I will have to make a farming boat at some point, but for now I'm just not doing it because it's kind of annoying to do that. So you have the locations, the quests, even the traders are very important. For example, most of the traders will buy water, but over here, it's someone where you can sell wood for 4 corks. It might not seem like a lot, but most of the times the wood will sell for one cork, and guess what? You'll have tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of wood in the end of the game. So probably that is worth marking as well in case you need quick corks and some other stuff. Now, what else can you look at the map over here? Over here you have the chasm, which will actually give you your repeatable missions. I don't think these missions will ever be over because they probably will just keep repeating each other, and as you can see, they'll be marked as PvP, meaning you need to change your faction. It will do it automatically to the couriers, which is kind of annoying because that means you can be engaged in PvP. I recommend you stay on loner and just farm it. But the mission itself gives 1000 experience every time, so you might want to farm that a couple of times, and if you get too annoyed by the PvP, just turn it off. Also, all of the post offices will give you quest transfer messages to other ones, but they're not worth it because they only give you 100 quarks, which is meh. So yeah, what have we spoken about? Well, basically all of the looting stuff, and now let's add my own notes. By the way, at the end of the video I'll show you what's in L22, which is an off-map location, which probably will be the future of the game. Depends on how the developers do it. Okay, let's speak about some of the more esoteric markers I have on my map, meaning more exotic. Now, most of the people will be here on B5 because this is the easiest spot to farm armadas. Because of the latest changes, now you can actually share experience and loot with the same players. For example, if 5 players are shooting at the same enemy, I think they'll all get less experience and less loot than the one that destroys it, but they still get something. So for example, if you destroy it, you get 50 experience. If you attack it and don't destroy it, someone else destroys it, you get 37 experience. So that's basically 25% less experience, and the loot, well, the loot is not that good. I think the loot is very bad compared to what you would get if you destroy it. You get probably about 30% of the loot you otherwise would have gotten, or I don't know, something like that. But it's really worth doing. So if you're a low-level player, you can just go over here and destroy armadas with the rest of the people. The hotspot of the game, really. Well, be careful they don't capsize you. What can I say? Also, as you can see, the colors over here represent very, very, very dangerous areas of the map. And through here also you have the pontoons, but the pontoons are not even worth remarking on because this area is basically filled up with pontoon-like circles around 3 wells. And this will help you with wood and some other materials, but that's not so important. And this is the areas with the very, very dangerous things. As you can see, we have a few of them in every corner of the map. Now, let's continue with this explanation. So B5 is the best for everything. Over here we have a Headhunter tier 3, which is close to Trader 11, and I've marked it just because it's very easy to get a Walrus tier 3. Over here, from what I know, I haven't really checked out this area, but it's supposed to be a very dangerous area or something big spawns. Over here you have the Pirate Trawlers 4. The Pirate Trawlers, they are the anchovy trawlers, which are very easy to destroy, and they have very good loot, so that's why most people prefer fighting them, and they're also slow. We also have a tier 3 walrus over here, which I think is another headhunter, so you can just go over here and try to kite that if you want to get a walrus tier 3. Over here we have the Armada plus the Boar Dogs. This is, from what I know, the toughest Boar Dog gang in the map. Now, the Armada itself is not as strong as other ones, but the Boar Dogs from here will be the most armed and dangerous in the game, more or less. And over here, I think you might have Armada spawn in some other locations, but the most consistent ones I found over here. Also, I think you should mark the location where you need to sit to spawn, for them to spawn at the maximum distance, because they can spawn very close to you or very far. So, as you can see, the location of the Armada spawn will be tied to either the currents or the dredge locations or some other things. Definitely don't dredge in this location, because while you're dredging, they might decide to pop out. So yeah, I recommend you also mark the location. For example, sit here for the best spawn to destroy them. I also marked it on some other maps, but let's continue. Also, you cannot board these Boar Dogs over here in the north, but you can board these ones from over here. So in case you want to get a Boar Dog, a tier 5 ship, or you just want to board them to see what loot you get, the loot is nothing spectacular. Some other locations have better loot, even though they are lower tier ships. Yeah, you definitely don't want to board too much, but you can get some interesting stuff over here as well. Also very close to the aircraft carrier, but the safe zone of the aircraft carrier is very small, so I don't even think this one has a safe zone. So you also don't want to go to the south, because if you go from here to here, you'll actually spawn other enemies that will be more annoying. They have the missiles that will hit the center of your boat. So yeah, I guess it's not as easy as I make it sound because you can encounter a lot of spawns. So for example, in this location, you want to do something like that. So go over here and then go over here to basically be free of enemies or other spawns to attack the enemy. Again, this is all practice, and over here we have very special swarms. Over here you have the tier 1 swarms medallions. They're just basically tier 1 ships that will sometimes drop medallions. They will not drop as many as you'd get from the trawlers, the anchovy trawlers and some of the other armadas, but again, they spawn so fast and you can also get a lot of experience. It's going to be fun to farm them. Over here is the floater pirate swarm, the same thing as this one, except be careful because it will spawn free hovercrafts, and those are much harder to destroy. So no one farms this one, but everyone farms this one. You might also have some boats with Gatling guns, but don't worry about them, they're not so bad. Over here it's a small swarm medallion, again more or less the same thing as this one over here, except I think this one is much easier to destroy. Or no, this is the one with the Gatlings. These ones over here don't have any Gatlings, but the ships over here have some very interesting Gatling guns because you have a ship, a small ship that basically has 2 Gatling guns on top of it. So when you get hit by the bullets, it will seem like it's only 1, but no, it's going to be 2. So there are 2 ships with 2 Gatlings each, so that's 4 Gatlings. So this one is much harder to farm just because of how dangerous it can be. And over here it's an armada. I didn't really mark it properly because there's no reason to fight it. I will probably do more testing. Over here is the tier 5, meaning we have burdocks that spawn over here. Sadly, this will be a location where you'll have to travel a few times and you'll get destroyed by it without even knowing. Because it spawns over here, it's not near the dredging location. So be very careful of this area over here. By the way, I marked them as close as I could to their spawn location. Nothing here, nothing here. Armada tier 4 with Vigilant, tier 3 easy. If I remember correctly, around this area you had also the Scorpena, torpedo boat, and also the Vigilant tier 3. And this is probably one of your best locations to get some of them to, board them and have them, have them as your own ship. We'll speak about this in a second. Over here near Trader 7, it's actually going to be another Vigilante and other ships over here. So it's also going to be one of those locations that is a lot easier to farm, but at the same time, the snappy boats and the Morena tier 4s are not as easy to destroy as the anchovy trawlers. So yeah, you can farm in many areas, but as you can see, people will always get to the best farming locations, which will be the small one over here, and the one in B5, and some other locations as well, but not as many as the ones I mentioned. Even the flotilla over here, the armada, can be very interesting to fight and can give you a lot of experience if you can handle it. Yeah, this is kind of like an easier time to farm, but you'll not be as efficient. Over here there's another armada that will spawn. And again, I marked it over here, sit here. Also take note of the whirlpools, because if you're in trouble, what I usually do is mark my whirlpool location, or no, let's say the closest whirlpool, and then the armada, but I put the marker behind them, so I know that when I'm going towards the marker at about 200 or 100, they will spawn, and then if I cannot beat them, I'll just go back into the whirlpool and respawn in a safe area. Very useful. So as you can see, the map has many more uses. I don't think this one is worth farming. I don't have any other data about it, so I guess it's not that good. Over here there was a very weird thing that happened. I'm not sure how to explain it. So there was a huge whirlpool that appeared on the map, and there were some armada spawns from over here. I'm not sure where they came from, but I was basically able to drive the ships. The ships, I think they spawn around here, or maybe here. Let's just mark that in case. I was able to make them follow me, and over here they were just going to the whirlpool. It was a huge whirlpool, not like this one, it was bigger. And apparently they just couldn't get outside of it, and they almost got sunk in it, and I was just shooting them. It was a bit crazy, so I'm not sure what causes that. So the game has a lot of hidden features or very rare features that have not been explained so far, so expect more map anomalies. And over here... Yeah, oh yeah, we have another interesting thing over here. So over here we will have tier 1 rangers that can farm a lot more often than you think. So you have 2 boats that are basically tier 1, but I think they're much harder to destroy than the normal ones, and they just spawn from all directions most of the time. So you can destroy them very fast, but they basically don't stop coming, and that will be annoying because they'll sometimes break stuff. So yeah, you can also farm them over here. So take note of this interesting location. You have two small ones and a big one. Very useful. It might mean something else. They might have much better spawns. Over here we just have an easy tier 4 armor. I think they're just Morenas and some other stuff, but I think their equipment is much weaker than the other ones. And also, in case, I think this is where I got my big scavenger skills. You have to board the ships to get the shields, otherwise I don't think they drop. So yeah, you probably have to do a lot of testing to see what loot you get from boarding certain ships. Also, another example. Someone said that in the south, you board some ships that can give you a lot of fiber. Again, probably will be very useful. So yeah, this is what I boarded a lot in the beginning of the, let's say, my tier 4 boat. And over here it's a weird convoy, but it's a Sharky, tier 1 Sharky convoy with no medallions. So they don't have medallions, but it spawns fast and it attacks you very, very furious, like a lot of bees. But you can destroy them pretty easy. I'm not sure what the deal is with them, but they just spawn over there, so be careful. But here we have other tier 5s. Again, I might not have marked this one correctly, but it will surely spawn over there, so careful. And that's another big group over there which you can kite. It will also have trawlers and some other stuff, but it's not as good as this one. This one has the easiest amount of... Let's just say they die very fast and they don't do too much damage and they're very easy to farm. So that's why people prefer them. So let's go over here at Trader 6 in L22. Now, a few words. Warning. The first wave, even though it will be tier 1, it will have a trawler that is tier 4. And it will be pretty hard. You'll need to be at least tier 3 in a boat with maximum crew and some other stuff. But the next thing that comes after this one will be much harder to deal with. As you can see, I went into the wrong direction and you can go very, very far into the map. I'm not sure how much you can go. But that was the wrong direction. So if I went further a few more squares down in L22, I got another wave that was super, super hard to beat. I mean, it was unbeatable for me. And I also couldn't run away, so if you want to try your luck, go and try it. I recommend you try it. But it will not be an easy task. It will actually be very annoying because you'll die probably a lot of times. Okay. Yeah, it's dark, so what can I say? So I just like to mark it over here because as you can see it's very easy to steer off course and then just not even arrive at your intended location. And we'll just have to fight the first one. Now this is a very good place to farm because they give you a lot of experience. They sometimes draw medallions and they're not so hard to fight, but they'll actually hurt you a lot of time, so they're not really worth farming for long periods of time just because of, you know, they just sting you, but a lot of stings can mean you get hurt very badly. Also, they don't drop a lot of medallions, so you would get more experience and more medallions just by joining the B5 flotilla combat. Okay, make sure you're perfectly aligned. And then just go to the south. Oh, I messed this up a little. Oh well. I guess it's going to be okay. I wish you could mark offside of the map, but you cannot because the map will just go back to its original position, which is annoying. Say the least. Okay, we're going the right way. We should have the Armada spawn very, very fast over here. No one is farming, which is good. And then again, you just have to judge the distance, but since you cannot mark stuff on the map, it's going to be very hard to find the perfect position to sit. Okay, just make sure you're in the right sector, otherwise the enemies will not spawn, and they should have spawned by now. Yeah, okay. That's the Armada, that's just a pirate dinghy. But they have so many good weapons on board that you'll be surprised. Need the rockets. You have to destroy the rockets as fast as possible, otherwise they'll destroy your energy production and some of the other stuff you have on your boat. It timed a lot of stuff. Also they have the Mariana Seiner in case you want to capture one. But good luck destroying this stuff alone. And they have cannons, which is kind of remarkable. By the way, my cannons are probably half tier 2, half tier 3, and they're still not enough to one-shot some of this stuff. Also the Garpike T3 torpedo boat. I'll try to board the trawler, but I boarded it a lot of times and it didn't really have interesting loot to begin with, so I stopped trying. Plus, it has a lot of guns, a cannon in the front, and more weapons on the side as well. So it's not an easy target as some of the other locations. So let's try and board it, but yeah, it's not going to be. Funny enough, it has the halibut cabin, which you can loot from the board docks near the aircraft carrier. I think I mostly destroyed it, but it still has a few weapons on board that are very annoying. I need a machine gun, so that's why you can just probably take a machine gun and all cannons. So 6 cannons and a single machine gun to destroy the weapons. Oh, I destroyed all of the crew. See what I mean? It's very, very, very well armed. Oh, the cannon is still firing. Well, not my intention. Oh, we can do it? Yeah, let's see. Probably we can do it now. Yeah, it's very hard to do this stuff, the boarding, without having, you know, a machine gun. Have the sealant. Nothing special. The loot is kind of bad, I don't know. They should probably increase that loot as well over here. You get the halibut cabin, which is not as important or as impressive. You also get the metal shield tier 3, which can be very good if, well, I guess that's one of the loot that will be worth it. Because the other shields, you probably have the Iron Warrior shield or just the Iron Warrior shield 1 or 2. They go up to 3010 armor. Their weight is also pretty light, but these ones will have a little more weight, but their armor will be much, much better. So I guess this one is kind of worth boarding more or less. These things will just destroy. And it also have some parts over here that will be worth dismantling, but overall, yeah, it's not going to be that good. In case you want to see the slots, it's huge. Almost as big as my deck. I guess I can replace the shields, even though they don't look as cool. I can replace them just because they're tier 3. Keep in mind that the repair cost for this will be double compared to the ones you normally have. And at lower ranks it will be even higher. And they have already respawned. Okay, let's destroy them normally this time. Because they don't really have a fixed spawn position, they just spawn near your location, or they just spawn near player activity. I guess you can just leave the anchovy trawler on the water without boarding it, and that will probably delay the spawn, maybe. Oh, wow. Okay, let's see how many medallions we might get. I'm not even going to try and attempt to go for the other enemies, because the amount of time and material you lose just by trying to go the second wave is astonishing. Yeah, just follow the line over there, see? Over there. that's how far you need to travel to see the next tier. And you also get some lure from the looting tables, which I don't do. Oh yeah, see? Medallions. But I think it's only one ship that gives us, or no, two ships. I think they're the boats that fire the rockets at you, the ones that are at the edge of the armada, that would give you the medallions most of the times. And most of the ships, as you can see, barely have any loot to pick off. And you also get a lot of wheels, which will be annoying to dismantle. Let me go there. You might also spawn the other group behind you, which is the normal group. So where did I destroy the wave the first time? I don't remember, but that's about it. See you next time, bye bye.